Many thanks for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. Of course, it's day 2 of the ongoing nationwide strike declared by organized labor. Today on the conversation, we'll be taking a look at the pros and the cons of the nationwide strike. We started by saying on the program today that one of the biggest that we've seen, of course, is the TCN going off, taking power off from the grid. And of course, this has taken a toll on the economy of the country. Perhaps also that is why the government is so very particular about the strike ending. Of course, we have two gentlemen joining the conversation today, and Adebimpe, Ajibola, and I will, of course, be conversing with our guests this morning on the advantages, disadvantages, and the many more that we can learn from the ongoing strike. Are there also indications that it might be called off later today? Join us this morning as a welcome Barrister Kabir Akingbolu. Is a lawyer and a political analyst. Thank you for being here on the program today.
On the program. Good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning.
And of course, on the side of joining Adebimpe, there is Comrade Ismail Ishola. Adejumo is the PRO, Nigeria Labour Congress Lagos State Chapter. Thank you, Comrade, for being here on the program today.
Oh, it's my pleasure being here. Thank you.
All right. Okay, Ajibola, where do we start from?
Okay, we all thought it was a joke, and before we could blink our eyes, it happened yesterday, and major sectors of the economy were shut down, and we lost about 1.3 billion naira yesterday. Labour gave ample time for the federal government to negotiate, of course, and offer a reasonable minimum wage, but at the end of the day, the negotiation broke down, and Labour had to go on strike. Now, the deed has been done, and the federal government is inviting Labour again into another meeting. What do you think the federal government should have done to avert what we experienced yesterday?
Well, I will use the word of that, I think, former American president, who said that he who makes peaceful change impossible makes drastic change inevitable. That's exactly what has happened here. You will recall that since the inception of this particular government, President Tinubu-led government, the Labour has been giving warning from time to time. We want to go on strike if you don't do this. We want to go on strike if you don't do that. But government has been thinking that maybe it's a child's play. And in Nigeria generally, government understand. They don't seem to understand the simple language at times. However, I thought that I think rather that it would have been better for the two of them to reach a kind of a friendly compromise that will favor both the Labour, the masses, and the entire Nigeria and the nation as a whole. You understand? Because there are a lot of problem-solving mechanisms. You can solve problem by compromise. You can solve problem by do nothing. You can solve problem by confrontation. Confrontation is the one they have just embarked upon now, but it is not too good for the people. And most especially, what is significant in this one now is the power grid being shut down. To me, I don't like this aspect because I know the last time it happened was during, I think, General Abacha's regime when they shut out of they shut down the national grid. But it was a military era. The military men went there and put it on then. So, but then, and 1994 too, when the Pengasan, all this tanker drivers association went on strike, Abacha rolled, that's the beginning of NNPC filling station that we have nationwide today. Abacha just said, oh, to hell. He just went and established and bought, tankers, painted them green, white, green, and established NNPC, and they started having filling station, So that's what we have today. But now I think there are some services. There are some people that are essential services provider, like medical doctors, like power providers. I don't think it's supposed to be. During the lockdown, I think the court ruled that lawyers are also service providers. I don't want to think it is good for the court to be shut down. Yeah. For instance, emergencies can arise here and there. Somebody's house may be about to be pulled down, and the essence of you can rush to court. But in this kind of situation, you are paralyzed. You are frustrated. It is not too good. However, I think let Labour be, reasonable in them, although all their demand you cannot call them unreasonable because of what is on ground. However, we have to apply or introduce human face to the demand, because you see, government is saying, oh, they are talking about 400,000 naira demand, they are making 400,000 demand, that they didn't think of how they will be able to pay the 400,000. But this is the government that increased fuel without telling anybody, and from 150 naira to 700 naira, and it's still not available.
Even the tariff.
Yes, even the tariff of electricity. You didn't ask Nigerians where they are going to get it.
Exactly.
Or are you saying that somebody who is earning 30,000 naira will not use light? You understand? These are some of the things. You cannot blame labor, because when you look at what goes to the pockets of the political office holder, one will be worried. However, I think it would have been better if they are starting, like they made a law, and passed the national anthem law within 2 weeks. Why did they not pass the law that will increase minimum wage within a year? Since last year they have started. Let them go at that pace, because we are members of this society. And I would have expected them to govern. Let me tell you, it's not too difficult. A boy of 25 years who is serious can rule a nation.
Right.
You just start from yourself as an example. Let the National Assembly, the politicians, let them first say, okay, we are cutting our salaries by the half. You understand? If you do this one, in fact, laborers will support you. They say, oh, there's no money in the pocket of the nation. Nigerians will understand.
So they must start.
They must start by themselves, lead by example.
Adejumo, I'm sure you want
Yes,
to...
I just want to ask Comrade, that in the last 24 hours, what positive outcome has been achieved?
Thank you very much. To start with, I must start on a note to commend our workers nationwide for their cooperation, for their resilience and doggedness in pushing this through, because we did not start overnight. The guest that spoke just now just lay a background to what led to this stage we are. Yeah. You also agree that our president said there must be a living wage for workers, and we are counting on his promise that there can't be any gain without pain. What we experienced yesterday is not what we intended or what we would have wanted. We don't want to put the country or the economy into hot. We want the government to reason and put fact and figure on the table. Because before now, when they are proposing 60,000, there was no any template, the breakdown of the 60,000. But even till now, but recently they gave us some statistics of what brought about the 60,000, that it is not affordable, it is not realistic, it is not achievable. But so many things can be achievable for some categories of the people in government. That is why the gain is that the message has been communicated to Nigerians, and it is loud and clear that you cannot toy on the collective resolve of Nigerian workers, because we are the ones that create the wealth of this nation. We should not be changed in any form. And we are calling on the government that now they've realized that the labor is critical. We are critical stakeholder and partner in Nigerian project. They are called to the table yesterday night to continue the dialogue. So we are open to dialogue in the principle of collective bargaining, that when your employer calls you for negotiation on the table, we come. What do you have to offer? We look at it based on all the economic indices. If it is reasonable, if it is sustainable to sustain an average family that will not indulge in corruption, because we know what the problem of Nigeria is. People cannot, their take home cannot take them home. So therefore they have to cut corner. And for us not to continue in this trend, in line with the agenda of the Mr. President to eradicate corruption or to reduce corruption in the public sector, we must have a living wage. So we have achieved a lot by putting a very clear message. We are partners. You should not underrate us. They should not take us for granted. They've taken us for granted for too long. And that is why, in the principle of revolution, they say expectation, frustration leads to aggression, and aggression can lead to revolution. We don't want revolution to happen in Nigeria. That's why the workers' leadership have been very, very proactive. They have been very, very, supportive to the government, and they give them all the windows to open dialogue. Let us look at the indices on ground. Some states have even pronounced 70,000 for crying out loud. But the leadership of NLC have told them that anything that is below 3 digits is not sustainable. And 3 digits we know. Some people are saying maybe it's going to be 61,000, 62,000. That would be too ridiculous.
60,000,
whatever. The president have made a pledge. And moving forward, we want to believe that he himself knows, as a father, that 60,000 cannot take us home any longer in Nigeria.
Okay,
Even a bag of rice cannot be gotten for
60,000 naira.
So there we are a lot of gains and a lot of pains. So no gain, no pain.
No pain.
That is the point.
Very Akingbolu, let me pick from what Comrade Adejumo said here and talk about trust issues. Because it seems that like the country also has issues with trust.
Yes.
At the beginning of the program, we also identified and asked ourselves, why did government wait this long to also engage labor in such a speed, which they've been doing since Sunday night, just to avert the strike? And just like you also said, could it also be a trust issue where government also had assumed that labor would not have gone ahead with this situation? So on the part of government, on the part of labor, what does trust mean? Also to the people who are Nigerians?
Well, trust is very essential in every relationship, even in a marriage, you understand. So when you talk about this kind of thing, in issues like this, between the federal government or between the government, because we have the state government, we have the local government, we have the federal government, and the workers, is a marriage, one way or the other, right. Contractual marriage. Now, this marriage has a lot of obligations on both sides. You know, the workers' own is to work, the employer's own is to pay. Now, when you are paying, work cannot sustain. Because when we talk and say, oh, labor is over demanding, labor is over this, over that, we should also be reasonable as well. Just like I here said, like a bag of rice is 85,000 naira, and somebody is collecting 30,000. You understand? Or let's assume the 60,000 they are proposing now, he will have to pay school fees, he will have to transport, he will have to pay house rent, he will have to buy light, he will have to buy water. A sachet of water now is about 50 naira. Right. And in a country that we are. So I think what we need to do, much as I agree that the money they are paying the workers, you know, is just too poor, because it's less than $50. Even the 60,000 is less than $50.
Right.
Do you understand? And $50 is just like, maybe people don't understand that concept of dollar. It's just like our 50 naira. In those days, in the 80s, like 81, 82, you will have 2 naira will buy $3. But this is where we are. Even as at 1990, 94, 95, even up to 98, the federal government pegged dollar to 22 naira, but at the black market it's being sold for 46 naira. What you need to do as a government, first of all, is to bring policies to revamp the economy. Even if you pay workers 1 million naira, to me, because immediately they start paying this 60 naira, everything will skyrocket.
Yes.
The market woman that is selling gari in Aramakpa Ekiti, we know that this is the amount they are selling, they are paying workers. The woman that is selling for at Ikorodu or Apekuta, we know that the money has been increased. Even when we are core members, we know. As at that time, they increased our pay to 7,000 allowance to 7,500. We immediately, everything in the market, they will say, Copper, no, it was in those days you don't have money. So now, this thing, we don't just talk about the increment in the salary. The money they increase today, that's what they call Parkinson principle in economics, that when you are taking 20 naira and the money is increased to 40 naira, you understand? Parkinson principle is of the opinion, oh, you save the difference. You understand? But in Nigeria today, it's not so, because your demand immediately will overtake that 40 naira. Do you understand? It's just like your income is at a gargantuan stage and you're at a Lilliputian stage, but your demand is at gargantuan stage. Asking for it, how do you manage? We have been taking this 30,000 minimum wage started, I think, under Jonathan or so. Right, now, Jonathan. That's over about 10 years now. And over time, dollar has increased from that time, because people talk, when we talk about dollar, everybody today, when Nigeria was Nigeria, now, so to find you with a dollar, you understand, or pounds, it is an offense, a criminal offense. But today, people are so happy to do it around. If government want to start today, I can tell you, the problem of Nigeria can solve in few months. For instance, let them cancel anything below the chain. Go to good countries, you will not see them here, there.
Probably go to
if this thing go, you understand? I'm telling you, if you know if you need $200, you have to go to the bank. Nobody will be trading because some of the bankers allegedly have bureau de change of their own. So any allocation from CBN, they take it to them bureau de change. You buy something officially 200 now, you sell it 1,000 something. You buy it 1,000, you are selling it 1,500. You sit down in your home and making millions. So government should revamp the economy and ensure that if this is done, that is the foundation. Right. It's just like a man who has headache, and that headache was caused by malaria. You take drug to cure the headache will go to 30 minutes for 30 minutes or 1 hour. But it will come back as long as you don't treat that malaria. So let us know what are the problems, what are the causes, how do we solve them? And again, since we are not producing, let us allow people to bring in rights.
So inflation can make a mess of this minimum wage.
Exactly. It will make no meaning at the end of the day because everything is going to overtake whatever they are giving the labor.
Okay, there was another angle raised by the Minister of Justice.
Yes.
Lateef Fagbemi,
yes,
saying that labor cannot go on strike because there is a pending case before the National Industrial Court. By the action of labor, did they violate any law at all?
Well, two things. In fact, when my sister was there the other time, I forgot, I think it skipped my mind. Now, two things here. The court of law has no valuable property apart from its orders. And this order must be obeyed, whether you like it or not, whether you don't like it. You understand? Sometimes, even if they give orders that you don't like, you must obey. Sometimes in America, during the case of O.J. Simpson and the people, the president of America had to come out and say, come, all of you don't like this judgment, but it is our court that has spoken. I am not too aware, I am not aware so well that whether there is an order. However, if there is an order, or if there has been an order that has, restrained or probably train the NLC not to go on strike. It means that what NLC has done is completely illegal, if there is an order like that. However, I am not aware. Because, the moment we stop to obey court orders, then we're in trouble. We are going to anarchy. You understand? But another thing also is here. Yoruba people will say, if you pursue a goat to the wall, it will face you. Sometimes, Olarotimi in one of the books, I think the goats are to be said, there is the rebellion within, rebellion without. Snake at your doorstep, you have to stick in your hand, and they say that's not how to deal with it. You are biting me, you are scratching me, you are pinching me.
I should not cry.
It's not possible. At a time, people will have to go out of their way to say, oh, this order has been made, but we may not, we will not obey.
Because of the reality.
Because of reality on ground. Because don't let us forget, the labor leaders also are Nigerians.
Right.
They breed Nigeria here. They trade on Nigeria soil. They go to Nigeria market. You understand? Now, because of that, they are accountable to the people, the people of Nigeria. So if they are not doing anything, just like you said, issue of trust. Nigeria will say they have bought them over. Yeah. So they also should be able to prove their metal. So this is just the thing. If they don't do this, there is no other way to do it. That is the truth of the matter.
Okay. Earlier when we started the show, we mentioned that the country lost about 113 billion naira yesterday alone. Since we're looking at the pros and cons of the strike, how do you think Nigeria can, balance, the economic loss, and the long-term goals of the labor strike?
Thank you very much. I said it earlier on that we are very mindful of the implication. In any industrial relation, the last resort is strike, and we don't like going there. Before we embark on strike, there will have been processes. We give notices, we give them ultimatum, we go by way of protest. You see the hike in the electricity tariff. They will stage a protest in respect of this for government to listen that we have not even done with the minimum wage. You are coming with the hike in tariff. Astronomical increase, which is biting on every family. Beyond is there anybody better Nigerian than the workers? The people who are in the market saying that the workers and the labor leaders are not fighting for them. We believe surely that we are the one that they are going to feed on, because whatever money we collect as minimum wage or as salary is what we trade with them, that we sustain them. Go to the market now, people are cutting yam into pieces because they cannot afford a tuber. Pepper is not affordable. So many consumable. Food inflation is about 44%. The real inflation, 33 thereabout, fluctuating. So how can an average worker survive? So the pain will come and the gain will also follow. Because the president said, if you want to have a bath, you want to give birth to a baby, you must pass through the labor. We're in the labor process. We must sacrifice for this country to survive.
Okay.
They have sacrificed. We too also we must sacrifice. Because freedom comes by struggle. Nobody will give you freedom on a platter of gold. Thank you.
Comrade, let me stay with you here. And that is the fact that, of course, we do know that Labour at this time, a lot of people are also saying, well, Labour is fighting for the workforce, especially those who are, you know, federal and state employees.
Workers,
and at some point in time, they think that this is not going to be beneficial to those in the private sector. What do you have to say concerning those who are doubting you know, the fight by Labour at this particular point in time?
Thank you very much. You know, in Nigeria, we have the organized labor. In the organized labor formation, we have people who are in the private sector and we have people in the public sector. We are fighting for everybody. Labor is the only veritable tools that voice for the voiceless in Nigeria any longer. The media, the fourth estate of the realm, have not been doing this, setting the agenda right. Because most of the media ownership have been compromised. We know this. It is through our agitation. The civil society, we don't see them any longer. They have fizzled out. Prior to the time, the era of military and the pro-democracy struggle, they are there. But now, we don't know why some of them are silent. And we are in the worst situation in this country at the moment. And labor force, the labor, organized labor, is the only body registered by government, recognized, to voice for the workers and the masses. We are not only voicing for the working class. The people who are the downtrodden, the Yaloja, the Mama Pepper seller, we also pay for electricity. We are calling on the government to reverse this hike in the electricity tariff. It's one of our cardinal demand. Beyond because we collect the salary, the demand, the scale of preference will have chopped up all the inflation, will have eroded all the income. And this thing was instigated as a result of the sudden removal of subsidy. The day the subsidy removal is going to pronounced, that was the day Nigeria began to have this problem. The implementation framework, the sustainable and a cushioning effect that we follow it was not there. The cabinet was not in place at that time. The president just felt, okay, the budgetary projection does not capture subsidy, so therefore it's gone. But the implication on an average Nigerian, that is where we find ourselves today. And the issue of naira floating is also the problem. This inflation rate will have been manageable. We wouldn't have gotten to this stage. The workers are not demanding for too much. What led us to this stage, this level of demand, high level of demand, is because inflation have already eroded. Even those who are pensioners now, some are earning in a month their pension about maybe 5,000, 6,000. What can they do with it? Is it to cook a pot of soup? If you want to buy a paper to cook a pot of soup today, you must have more than at least 5,000 to 6,000 naira, tomatoes and the likes. So all these pensioners too, they are vulnerable. Everybody is concerned, and that is why this agitation is for Nigerians. It's Nigerians that are voicing, not we, the labor leader. We are just the instrument that is putting this voice. The government should reason and do something urgent so that Nigerians there will be greater happiness for the greater number of Nigerians.
Okay, Comrade, why would you agree with you that the government should do something reasonable for labor? Some people have also criticized labor, that the demand of labor is unrealistic, going by the fact that the economy of the country is bleeding as we speak. What would you consider as an ideal living wage outside of that 497,000 naira or so that labor is asking for?
Thank you very much. I told you earlier on.
3 figures.
We have a
figure
benchmark, and there is a threshold which we cannot go below.
Okay.
Because of the current economic reality. Everybody knows that.
You want to tell us?
So
now, I cannot pronounce. I'm not in position to do that.
Okay.
As we speak now, the NEC in session is ongoing. They are communicating their discussion with the government to all the organs.
Okay.
The 36 states and the FCT. All the representatives of the labor are there now having a meeting to dissect, to review this proposal they have put forward, whether it is in line with what can sustain us as a worker. Okay. And as such, after their meeting, They will go back to government and communicate our position. That is why the strike is still ongoing.
Okay.
Nobody has called off the strike, and we want to tell Nigerians that they should support this cause. Because if we don't get it right at this time, I don't think the generation unborn will forgive us.
Barrister Akingbolu, judging from what he said, well, the strike is still on. Now, negotiations are ongoing. And so just like he said, Labour has a threshold.
Yeah.
And from day one, they've always, maintained the 3 figures. And so whether or not, how much that figure will be, we will get to know at a later date. Also, at that meeting yesterday, Labour agreed that at least for the next 1 week, they intend to continue negotiations on the round table, and continue to engage with government. But let's quickly backtrack a little and also put government on its toes here. We know that all over the world, strike actions are valid.
Yes.
It is, and it remains the last resort.
Yes.
But for issues not to get to that point, what are some of those germane things that government needs to learn from this particular experience?
Government should learn that power resides with the people. And government should learn that, well, you are leaders because there are people that you are leading. You understand? And government should learn that everything is not all about the political class alone. You understand? What about the average man? About the common man? Sometimes I sit down and I pontificate for myself, and I won't be able to answer the question to say, how are these things being done? Like for instance, we have had a government in this country that said they were sharing palliative during lockdown, and they spent up to how many billions of naira? Nobody is talking. You understand? And again today, government should also know that some of their policy, you don't just roll out policy. You look at the policy, the immediate and the remote effect. Those are the things you should look at. Like the Comrade has said, the way the subsidy was announced, the removal of the subsidy was announced, was a bit too lackadaisical. There wasn't any cabinet in place then to really judge and put us together and say, oh, can we do this, can we do this, what are these, what are the economists ought to be consulted. What are the negative consequences, the countries where they have removed it, how did they do it, how is everything good? Because today, just like you said, even the 5,000 he's talking about now, it's doubtable. Maybe what we call without in those days, you eat rice, yes. Rice, yes. Meat, no. You understand? Except that one, 5,000 cannot do anything. If you give your wife money now for soup, and you ask for change, you will pay more. You will add. You are going to add. It's so difficult now, I'm telling you. So sometimes I now look at how will a common man, how will they live? Sometimes I look at my workers and, in the last 1 year, I've increased my salary. The list in my office is 65,000 since January or thereabout. Because I just ask myself, how are these guys living? How will they feed their wife, their children, pay school fee, transportation? How will they earn? How will they live? You understand? Some of them have cars. How will they fuel it? Now, an average man today, because although average average class is almost wiped out in Nigeria, it's either you are rich or you are poor. You understand? Because if you are a worker somewhere, it will be very difficult that you will not buy fuel of between 200 to 300,000 in a month. Yeah. If you are working on the island, for instance, and you are in Ikeja, do you understand? And for instance, let's assume somebody is earning 100,000 naira, for instance, and is working at VI, and is living at Ikeja from here to VI, 1,500 naira. In a week, how much? In 4 weeks, how much? In a month, how much does it translate to? So these are the things.
And there are other expenses.
And the other expenses you will pay. And that tariff is another funny thing. Because they don't call it subsidy in energy. They call it intervention. Intervention fund. So if government is removing it, I have seen an hospital in a live program on the television about 2-3 weeks ago that he said they are if they are to go by the amount they are charging now, that there was a month, there would be 25 million naira a month on power. Like this station now, look at what they are doing. And like Comrade said the other time, it's not every station that have been cowed, because if every station have been cowed, or journalists, we won't be here anyway. You understand? So some media organizations are still doing their best. You understand? But government should look at some of these things and see how it can work. But the best way to do it is to look for an enduring solution, which is the revamping of the economy. It's just like the foundation. If a foundation is lacking in a house, however beautiful the edifice is, it's going to crumble. You have to build from the scratch. Let us go. Dubai was a desert. There was nothing there in the 80s. But the people, those who spoiled it, and so, let us repair this country. It can work. Nigeria can work. I believe it's just for us, for God to direct our leaders. Yes. It's not that they are not doing anything. However, they just like a hunchback man that you say, oh, your load is it's not with wobble. They said, you are only looking at my front, you are not looking at the back. You know, there are a lot of things. Nigeria has been so much damaged, but we cannot cite as that down as an excuse because government is continuing. Whether you like it or not, you are the leader. Proper solution. Let people this, and again, there is this thing they call currency swap. It's one of the ways that the economy of Nigeria can bounce back. Right. Like most of the things that we consume in Nigeria today, be it food, be it technology, be it iron, be it pad, be it even phone, most of them come from China. However, why are we still using dollar to trade? You understand? President Muhammadu Buhari said he was going to do it. But the problem is that people are afraid of America. You understand? So if this is done, for instance, you want to go to China to go and import something, you are using yuan, it will reduce the pressure on dollar completely. Do you understand? So this will go a long way in solving the problem. But when this is not done, the political will is not there. Okay. And again, this thing is interwoven. There is nothing that will happen if all these things are done. You will see that Nigeria economy will pick up fast.
Okay. Right. Comrade, are we aware that there is a bigger challenge ahead of us? If at the end of the day, the federal government and Labour, they are able to agree on a particular amount, the 30,000 naira that workers are receiving presently, some states cannot even afford it. So there is a bigger challenge ahead for Labour. Yeah. How do you intend to tackle this?
On the part of the states.
Thank you very much. The build-up to the negotiation, we know that some states are defaulting. They are not complying totally because of the peculiarity of the viability of their finances. Some states are not viable to sustain the then minimum wage. All these are the factors. Even the organized private sector too are making case that they are not going to find it easy to pay anything above that proposed amount. But what we know is that minimum wage is a matter of law. And all indices and factors must be put into consideration before they arrive at it. And once it becomes law, you can then begin to negotiate for the domestication. Not too low, but it can also be above. That's why government don't want to at least be too favored to one side and against maybe the organized private sector, because maybe it will kill businesses, many jobs will be lost. We are mindful of all those indices and all those factors that will follow it. And that is why we have also reasonable. The technical committee of NSC have been looking at all this vis-a-vis what we have at the moment, so that whatever we are going to be given at the end of the day, we can be sustainable, it can sustain an average family, both in the public and private sector. But the large thing that we need to know about this issue of minimum wage negotiation is that the government knows that it is every 5 years. But the inflation rate now is not going at the rate of yearly, it's growing astronomically. And now, all the dynamics, economic dynamics, will determine whether it's going to be yearly review or it's going to be within that threshold of that 5 years, which is not sustainable.
Is that part of your demand?
No, those are the indices. Those are the things that you know, necessitate the downward review. We proposed 650 initially. We've come down to 494, and they are proposing 60,000. The margin is still far. So we want them to come closer to where we can all, you know, meet at the point and advance, so that every party that concerned to implement this minimum wage will find a way and means to implement it faithfully. Because any contravention will amount to violation of the law.
Akingbolu, still riding on Najibola's question, I'd like for you to weigh in here, because now we seem to be hounding on the federal government.
Yes.
The states are there. Now nobody is talking until when this particular agreement is reached. Yeah. We are aware some states are still not paying 30,000.
Yes, in fact, you see, the problem is this: when that is done, when you say minimum wage, then there are some proponents of, the school of thought that are saying, oh, every state should determine its own. Because now, when you talk about, we should be humane a bit here. Because I don't know what 100,000 can even do in a month for a man. You buy card, because now on everything you consume, you will have to pay VAT. And there is an indication now that the VAT may go up again, maybe to 10%. 7.5% VAT is something that is very, very... In fact, I never knew that Nigerians will take it then, but we took it, and because of that, look at where we are. They are still proposing to increase it. This is not the only way. There are a lot of ways that Nigerians are fleeced. You know, when Nigeria, devalued the naira, when any government devalued the naira, which the government has done, by devaluing the naira, they have stolen from the pocket of every Nigerian. Your 1,000 has become 700 naira. Your 2,000 has become 1,400 naira. Your the 1 million has become 500,000. This is where we are. And unfortunately, there is no clear-cut housing policy. There is no clear-cut infrastructural policy. There is no clear-cut educational policy. Our education is going down by the day. There is no clear-cut agricultural policy. Like, for instance, all these things they call palliative, to me, is just insulting the psyche of an average Nigerian. Because, again, even when the federal government meant well, there are a lot of programs of the federal government that are very fantastic, in fairness to them. But the state government, the state governors in Nigeria today, they are the most powerful political bloc. Anything they want, they get it. They will frustrate the system. Look at Order 10, Executive Order 10, that Buhari propounded. That, okay, let the local government be autonomous. They refused. It's only in Lagos State today, and partially Ekiti State, and I think Kaduna State to an extent, they are the only one that are, maintaining some independence for local government. The rest, you take local government money. Now, if the federal government is giving you this money, why are you not utilizing it for the benefit of the people? Now, what you call palliative 10,000. If you give me 10,000, what will it do? It's not even enough for transportation. This money can be harnessed together and do some program, like, for instance, mass urban transit that will force the private sector to review the prices of the transportation. You understand? If this is done, everybody will take part in it. I may decide not to take my car out to court today. I will enter the public, but if there is good one, every state or the federation can do this with the money they are sharing. Now you just say you want to credit people's account. We don't have data record in Nigeria. That is the truth of the matter. Who are the poor people? How do you know them? And we all know, it's a clear fact, that when programs like this are done, Labour Party will share it for their members. APC will share for their members. The PDP will share for their members. Then the other people, is not discriminatory. And again, like now in the power sector, they have brought a policy that, okay, grid A, B, C, D, E. Bandits. We are all Nigerians. You have 5 sectors. If you are in Nigeria, we are breathing the same oil, the same air. You are going to get 24 hours light. I will get 4. Like all those in band E. I have got you will pay for it. Yeah, it's discrimination. Meanwhile, by Section 116 of the Electricity Act, it said in the provision of services to the people of distributing light, there shall not be discrimination. Although I have challenged it, it's before the Federal High Court. We are challenging it already. It's discrimination. You are making some people to be higher in status. It is not good. At the detriment of others. Yeah, at the detriment of others. So you will not break it. You are the one to determine. If I'm looking at the Yanapaja, is it the business of anybody? That's where I can afford to pay. You are not saying because I'm living at Yanapaja, it's bandits 4 hours. Because somebody is living in Ikoyi, we get between 20 to 24 hours. These are not policies that are realistic. It is not too fair.
All right, Comrade, again, I remember that when the president talked about the removal of subsidy, there were some things that he also talked about that should be done. Yes. The CNG buses were some of the things that he talked about, and we're still awaiting the mass rollout of that initiative. I know that part of what Labour is also asking for is electricity reversal, the tariff hike, issues around fuel subsidy, now the minimum wage or the living wage, however we want to look at it. So what are some of those things that you also expect government to fulfill as part of those promises that they made over a year ago?
Thank you very much for going to that level, because now the issue of CNG buses was one of the promise as a fallout of the removal of subsidy. because you know the problem we are facing as a worker is majorly the problem of transportation. And we commend the governor of Lagos State for being very, very proactive and magnanimous to at least assuage to the yearnings of workers in the area of creating palliative for the transport system. But now we heard that the governor they've removed it back, but they have to restate it because the problem is still there. We are calling our Mr. Governor, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to be very, very consistent with what he has been doing. We know he's a very, friendly, worker-friendly governor that sooner or later he will reverse it. But as for the federal government, one of the things they promised also was the revamping of the 4-nation refinery to bring an end to this issue of importing and exporting of crude, which is very, very, engulfed with corruption and fraud. And that is where the issue of paying subsidy, some people are saying they are paying, some people that are not paying, become a mirage. So we need to really unravel this mystery and get to the end of it by working, because we know now that Port Harcourt refinery, as at April, they said they have test running, they're almost coming on stream.
Still test running.
So if it is coming on stream, let's know the capacity, or is it working optimally? The Warri refinery and the likes, let them come on stream. This will also add to the local production capacity, which will force the price to be down. Because now we have the crude, and because of the problem of exporting and importing, it has brought us to this level. We read in the news now that the cost of importing a PMS, the landing cost is not less than 1,000 naira. That is why you see the astronomical prices at different places. Some people will be selling 800 naira, some will be selling 900, some people will be selling, except NMPC, that is selling at the official rate. So all this is really, having fast effects in the life of an average Nigerian. Beyond that, the issue of palliatives, the sharing of the money, as you have said, there is no accurate database. But behold, some of the palliatives are coming through the various governors of the state. Like in Lagos State, we supervise when they are sharing some to all the needies in Lagos, the religious body, the society, even the workers' body. We are part of it. They extended some of this to us, but it's still not enough. We want them to do more so that all the policy of the justification for the removal of subsidy can really, be justified. But for now, it's telling on ownership on everybody. And the only way to go about it is to fulfill all their promises earlier on, which is where we are now, that there will be a minimum wage, a living wage, which will justify that the so-called wage award that they gave us, which was stopped in February now, have been restored.
It's been restated.
So let them pay the arrears, all the consequential adjustment in the salary scale, let them fulfill it, so everybody will have a relief. We are not demanding for too much, but something that is reasonable, that can be sustained an average family.
Okay, while Labour is demanding for something very reasonable, what do you think our political class should start doing to show to Labour that, okay, we are indeed serving you, we are indeed on the same page with you? Because while an average Nigerian worker is taking 30,000 naira home, we see the flamboyant lifestyle of our political class. Somebody as little as a councillor, they earn much more than a civil servant or a public servant, whatever you have chosen to call it. So how do we shift from what we have presently to something reasonable so that Labour can also see that, okay, this government is indeed serious about reviving the economy. They're also sacrificing certain things, certain perks of office from their own side too.
What could be done, or what can be done, is somehow impossible, because it is something that is doable, but it's impossible given the Nigerian political, the way the modus operandi of politics in Nigeria.
Are they not yet to serve the people?
Yeah, they are, but I'm going to cite a few examples, then I will balance them. But before I go to that, let me touch on something that Comrade had mentioned about the issue of importation of fuel, about reviving the refineries. This will not solve our problems. And you will be surprised, can I tell you? Now, there's what they call petrodollar. From inception in the 1760s, when oil was discovered throughout the world, America was purchasing the highest purchaser or consumer rather. As at that time there was no refinery anywhere in America, there was no oil. So what they do was that they brought out the concept. They brought out the concept of petrodollar. It's a concept in international oil transaction. that anywhere oil is being sold, the mode of transaction must be in dollars. Even if Dangote refinery starts today, or any other refinery for that matter starts in Nigeria today, the mode of transaction, you will buy in dollar. So, and as long as dollar is very high, there is no how it will rub off on the price of the petroleum. And again, I am still surprised about this magical we are test running. Even before Buhari left office, they said they are testing it. In a month time, it will be ready. And that's what we'll be hearing. That was how we had it in aviation sector, that for 8 years, a minister tried to test run an airline. Only for the airline to be commissioned the day after the government has expired. The government expired on Friday on 26th. They will do swearing on Monday. They commissioned the airline on Saturday. A week before that day, that airline was an Ethiopian airline that was still flying. A day, 6 days before that time. They just went and rented it, painted it. Then corruption should be stamped down. They should work on corruption and ensure that this thing, is not allowed to, to pin down this thing. Sorry, your question again. I've almost lost your
Political class.
Political class.
Yes, I get it now. Now, the political class that we talk about here is a very complex issue. One, the demand of the electorates is even too high. If you are appointed a commissioner today or a minister, you don't build a gigantic house in your village. Next time where there's opportunity and you want to take it, you say, no, do you have a house here? Do you understand? We have seen it happen. And again, an average Nigerians, an average electorate, especially in the, all these local rural areas, they expect every politician to give them money. When a politician has not made 10 naira, they already say, he has made 30 naira. So this made the politician also to strive. You will pay for school fees, you will pay for a pregnancy woman, your wife gave birth yesterday. Somebody will come and meet his political leader, the political leader. So this is pushing them to be doing some other things. However, the money they are taking, especially, it's on record that in Nigeria we run the most expensive National Assembly, legislature in the whole democracy in the whole world. Like for instance, people don't know what they collect, but on the average, Senator Shehu came out openly and told the entire Nigerians that people are just saying we are collecting 40 million, we are collecting 30 million, that the money we are collecting is just 13 million. And 13 million monthly per senator is 433,000 per day. And the professor in the university is earning 350 to 400,000 naira per month. Now, why will the workers not be talking? Because 13 million naira, we employ 90 Nigerians and pay them to 200,000 per month. Or employ 200 Nigerians and pay them 90,000, or pay them or employ 90 and pay them to 200. So look at that. We are losing. They will say constituency project. They will, after the whole thing, the whole constituency project, they are meant to execute project in their local government. But to me, I'm still of the opinion that it is wrong for senators, for rep member, for assembly to do constituency project. The executive, we all did government. We have the executive, the judiciary, the legislators. Their own is to make law, not to execute. Now, they will take constituency project. They will not. We have seen a situation where somebody was digging a borehole for 300 million in this country and nothing was happening. So, if they show by example, if they show leadership by example, I can tell you, even Labour may say, we understand with you, there's no money in the country. For example, they say, okay, senators, we are taking only 5 million naira per month. Let's assume, at least, they have brought down something. And again, there are a lot of ways that people are losing in this country. You save money in the bank today, somebody will remove 50 naira for one child. Another, they will remove 100 naira for another child. Government is not doing anything about them. That's what they call stamp duty charge, which is illegal. It's between me and Bank ABC. I am the customer of Bank ABC. I'm banking with them. Federal government will take 50 naira for every transaction that I have done. Do you know what this one translates to in billions?
In a year.
Then, with what Nigerian government is making, the Nigerian government is making from people, we are not supposed to be suffering from anything. Since the president got there, at least import duties as at around February has increased 6 times. Now, a car of, I am aware, a car of 1.something million is being sold for 7 million now. No. So where do we start from? Okay. So there are a lot of obligations that they owe us to show by example we are ready to lead. And again, maybe political office should be demonetized. Maybe it's on part-time basis, especially this lawmaking
make it
thing.
less attractive.
During Obasanjo regime, if you recall, councillor was from 10,000 naira per month in 2000. This is it's on record. Obasanjo increased their salary from 10,000 to 164,000 naira per month. What percentage is that? As at that time, no professor was earning 50,000. And when they raised it, the professor said, well, Obasanjo said, councillors are more important than professors. He said it. It's on record everywhere. Because even if somebody wants to lie today, the social media will not forget.
Okay. As we begin to wrap up this conversation today, Comrade,
I also have a clarification when you're done.
do you want to from him?
Both of them.
Okay.
Because
all right. So let me quickly say this. Going by, Comrade, this is to you now. Going by what you monitored yesterday, especially across Lagos, quickly take us through the compliance level, because on Sunday, many unions declared support for this particular strike as against what we've had before in the past, where labor will call for an industrial action, and a lot of people will say, let's see how this will go. But this time around, many unions declared support for this particular strike, including ASU. So if you were to take a look at, the kind of support you got yesterday, and this one is my personal question. Why is it that Labour always decides on using cane to drive people out of their offices when they go out? Comrade, that's to you.
Thank you very much. As for the issue of the compliance level and the support we got in yesterday, it is expected because we have been very patient enough. We have been very, very supportive of the government. And we know that they will not take us for granted, but at a time and at a point, they are trying to toss us around. And the leadership say, no, for once, we have to be united. And when workers are united, they can never be defeated. And we derive our power in the unison of workers. That all Nigerian workers who comply yesterday, we want to thank them. We want to salute their doggedness. Their support will never be taken for granted. As we embark on this negotiation is ongoing, we want to implore them to imbibe the same spirit of unison, of cooperation, because an injury to one sector is an injury to everybody. It might be your turn today, you are enjoying. Tomorrow, it might be injury at your side. So in solidarity, we stand always. So the level of compliance was about 85 to 90%. And we thank God that the government have realized the implication. We know it's very adverse on the economy, but they should not allow it to drag too long. That is why they must do something now that they have put up some proposal. Our leadership are looking at it as I speak to see where we can draw the line and put an end to this industrial strike, because it's not going to do anybody any good. So thank you very much.
Talking about support, I need clarification. Some TUC members have said that the NLC forced them, to shut down the national grid, while some other stakeholders have said, shutting down the national grid is a treasonable act. So that is where I want a lawyer to come in, and then you should clarify on forcing the TUC officials in shutting down the national grid.
Let me quickly react to that. Every sector of the economy is critical, but there are more essential sectors, just like the lawyer said. When we talk about the national grid, it has what we call national security implication. We know that. But people are working, they are not robots. They are workers. They have blood flowing in their stream. People in the hospital, they also work, they have obligation, they have a lot of responsibility to cater for. People in the schools, all the sector, they are workers. And that is why we are very important. The government should not take the workers for granted, not to abuse the collective sensibility of Nigerian workers, because we have been very, very reasonable. And at that point, when they are trying to enforce the directive of the national body of NLC, not TUC, because the NUI, National Union of Electricity Workers, are under the NLC, not the TUC.
Not the TUC.
So our people in the NUI, they are one of the affiliate union of NLC. The directive is that they have already resolved at their national level to support the strike, and it has to be total. When the strike is total, that means there won't be any operation.
Were they manhandled as reported?
Excuse me, let me land on my thought. The only caveat there is that where there will be consideration for skeletal service is like where we are now. We need to disseminate information. People must know what is going on as to whether we have retreat or we are advancing. So they give room for people who are above level 14, the management cadre, to do skeletal service like we are doing now. These are top management people. So aside that, other essential service in the health sector, we give little consideration for them. Those who are impatient and those who are just coming on critical emergency, there's a way and manner they do this before now. So not the normal activities in the health sector. Also in the education sector, there are considerations there, and there. But as for the question of beating people to comply, I don't think we have, resort to that level. People should be reasonable that this cause is a collective cause. It's not about me, it's not about you, it's about every one of us. So, and we have resolved that, okay, we are going on strike. Anybody who is trying to jeopardize the action of the union is what we call anti-union activities. And I have a framework for disciplining such people.
So part of discipline,
the discipline is to suspend them from the union
people.
because union is voluntary. It's not compulsory. It's not a compulsion. But you have signed to be a member of a union. It builds on you to comply with the norms and the principle and the directives of the union. Anything contrary is unethical.
Anything
and such people should be treated as people who are not honorable. Okay. Because we are honorable men, we know the implication, the benefit that will come from all this struggle, and the some of the consequence that will come after some of us who are leading the struggle.
Barrister Akingbolu, is it a treasonable offense?
No, it is not. You know, under the law, what they call treasonable offense is where you try to forcefully take over power from the government, from the leader, or from the president, or from the state, as the case may be. And that's what they call mens rea and the actus reus. But you must have taken steps to realizing this your dream. You must, maybe you have made speech to say, oh, I am now the president, I'm going to be the president, I'm going to be the governor, and you must have had followers. Okay. What they are doing is toward ensuring the welfare of the workers, not to topple government. They are not interested in governance. Okay. They are not politicians. Okay. You understand? They are just labor
maybe unions. Better put, is it any kind of offense aside being treasonable?
Yeah, it can be an offense if there is a court order to that effect. Because what they are doing, you know, is an exception. Because it's not in the normal thing. They are trying to make, what they call it, they are trying to fight for the welfare of their people. And association, freedom of association is a right guaranteed under the Constitution. And the Constitution is the grand norm and the fonse torigo, the law that we use in Nigeria. So if the law has given them power to form an association and to work for the interest and benefit of that association, and what they are doing is for government to see reasons why their members should be treated properly and why the entire populace of Nigeria should be treated properly like human beings, then it cannot be an offense under any, you know, modern government.
Okay, I think we need to go, but perhaps on a lighter note, yes, maybe Nue could have gone on strike, but left the power on. So that we can
unfortunately, the power has not been there before. We have the ghetto, the discos, and all the dancers.
So we are not missing anything.
We are not missing much.
Right.
Except those people who are on greedy A, that
band
we have
24 hours.
24 hours. Yes.
Okay, but as we go, are there Comrade, should we be hopeful that maybe by the end of today, government and labor would have reached a compromise?
Definitely, that is our expectation. That is our hope. That is what we are looking up to. We are not enjoying any industrial action. Okay. What we know is we want to contribute meaningfully as a productive workforce to the growth and development of the economy. All right. The government should take us serious and reach a compromise with our leaders so that we can resume back to work in earnest.
All right.
That is it.
Okay. On that note, we would have to call it a day here on this part of the conversation. Thank you so much, Comrade Ismail Ishola, Adejumo, PRO, Nigeria Labour Congress, Lagos chapter. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Barrister Akingbolu, thank you so much for finding time to be here on the program.
For having me always.
All right.
Thank you.
So that's it. We've been discussing the pros and cons of the ongoing nationwide strike, of course, by organized labor. Hopefully, the meeting will be a fruitful one at the end of the day. Just like Comrade said, nobody wants to sit at home. Everybody wants to come to work. So let's see how it goes today. We'll take a quick break. The conversation continues shortly.